Hello everyone and welcome to this module. In the last two modules we have learned about selection and iteration statements. So now let's move to third type of control statements, that is jump statement. Jump statement, as the name suggests, it transfers the control from one part to some other part in your program. Now there are three types of jump statements. The first one is break, second we have continue, and third we have return. Let's take a look at break first. Now normally break has three uses. First, it is used to terminate a switch statement. Second, it is used to exit a loop, and third, it is used instead of go to. That means we can break blocks. Now I'll explain you each case with an example. So let's take an example for switch case. Now we have already seen this example. You know that when I run this code with I equal to 1, we know that case 1 will be executed. So when I run this program, you can see that case 1 is executed. Now let's suppose I erase break from here. Now what do you think will happen? So if I run now, it is printing 1 and 1. Why? Because as soon as I put 1 here, case 1 is executed. Since a break statement is missing, so the execution will flow in a linear fashion and case 2 will be executed. Then again it will print I, and then we can see that break statement is there. So break statement will terminate the switch program and the control will move after the switch case, that is to this point. So suppose I erase break from here as well, then we know that 1 will be printed 3 times. See, it is printed 3 times. Why? Because the case 1 is executed, then we have case 2 which is executed. Again there is no break statement, so now we'll move to case 3 and this is also printed. Then we have break, so now control will shift to this point. Okay, now suppose if I give I equal to 2. So now we know that since I is equal to 2, so the expression value is 2. So now case 1 will be bypassed, it won't be executed, we'll directly move to case 2. Now when we execute case 2, it will print I, that is 2 for first time. Then since there is no break here, it will move to case 3. Okay, so if I run this, 2 will be printed 2 times for case 2 and case 3. So this is the use of break in switch cases. Next, break is also used to exit a loop. So I have already written an example for that. Now here I have started a loop for I equal to 0 till I is less than 10, and I have incremented I with 1 every time. So I have given a condition here that if I is equal to 5, then we'll break the loop. Now when I is equal to 0, since this is false, so break won't happen, won't be executed. So directly we'll move here. So it will print I, then second time I is equal to 1, then again this is false. So this will be executed again like this, it will continue till I becomes 5. Now when I becomes 5, since this statement become true, so we know that if this is true, then this will be executed. Now as soon as break command is executed, the control moves directly after the loop, like the loop is aborted. Or I can say that the remaining code or the remaining loop which is left, because we have I till 10, so the remaining loop from 6 to 10 won't get executed. So this is the use of break. We can exit a loop anytime. So if I run this right now, you will see that I is printed till 0 to 4. Suppose if I give I as 7 here, then we know that it will get printed till 6. So this is the use of break to exit a loop. Now the third use, as we discussed, is that it is used instead of go-tos. Now what are go-to statements? Now go-to statement is also used to transfer control from one part of your program to some other part of your program. So imagine you have written like thousands of lines of codes, and I am somewhere declaring on 850th line that go to 6 lines or go to some function. So if I ask you to read the function, if I ask you to read the code, you will have to find that function. So it will become very tedious for you to do that. So it is advisable to not to use goto, although it has its advantages, but still we can use break instead of gotos. So I'll show you how to use it. Now here in this example I have created blocks, various blocks. Now what is blocks? Blocks is like multiple lines of codes which is written between any two curly braces, opening and the closing. So if I I'm just showing you an example. If I create a block here, you know that as soon as I put an opening curly brace, automatically we get a closing curly brace. So now suppose I'm writing something, just imagine it is a code. So basically this part is known as a block. Okay, so here I have made certain blocks. Now each block we can give it a name, that is we can label it. So here I have written first, I have labeled first block as first. So this is how we label it. We write the name, then semicolon, and then we put opening brace and closing brace, and inside that we write. So this is the part of first block. Again in the first block I have created another block called second, which starts from here and ends here. Then again I have created a third, and which starts from here and ends here. So now in this case, when I run this, the control will move in like this, first, second, third, and it will see that the compiler will see that we have to print hey, so it will print. Now we have given a break statement here, and we have written break second. Now this is the syntax to break a block. We write break and then we give the label name. So I've given second as my label name here. So what it will do is it will directly transfer the control after the second block which we have made. So as soon as this is executed, the control of your program directly transferred to this after this curly brace. That is the closing curly brace of the label which you have provided. Okay, so when I run this, we know that this will be printed, and after this line is executed, this will be ignored. Again, this also will be ignored, and directly the command will reach here. So if I run this, first hey will be printed, then hey there is ignored, again hello is ignored, the command is now here. So this line will also get executed, so we'll have bye. And suppose if I just, for example, if I write first here, so now if I run this, we know that only hey will be printed. Why? Because we are moving in this direction. First this line is executed, then I've written break first. So after this line is executed, this all things will be ignored, and directly our control will shift from here to here. So this is how break is used as gotos. So next we have continue. Now continue, I'll explain you with this example. Suppose I have started a loop for, and I have written various statements in it, statement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want, consider a situation in which you want only the first three statements to be run, and the fourth and fifth should not be executed. So what you will do is you will write continue after statement 3. So I've written continue after statement 3. So now what will happen is the loop will start, statement 1 will be executed, then 2 will be executed, and then 3 will be executed. As soon as the continue statement is executed, the control from here, the control of your program from here transfers directly to the beginning of the loop again. So basically these two statements are not executed. So this is how continue is used. I'll give you an example for continue. So I've already written an example. I've started a loop. So I've started a loop, for loop here, and I'm printing I every time. And you can see that I have already written print. I have only written print, and I have not written print ln. Now, so it won't get printed, like there is no new line command. So everything will be printed in single line. Now, since we are printing I, now in each case it will check this condition, and if the condition is true, then we have written continue. So that so now whenever this condition is true, we know that this statement will not get executed, because if this is true, continue will be executed and it will directly transfer your control from here to here again. Okay, so if I run this, I'll run this. So we can see that when I is 0, it will print 0. Now since 0 modulo 2 is equal to 0, so continue will get executed and this line will be ignored. So directly command passes from here to here again. So in the next loop we have I equal to 1. So now I will be printed again in the same line as of 0. These are in the same line. And now again this condition is checked. Now 1 modulo 2 is not equal to 0. So this statement this expression becomes false. So this statement won't get executed. We directly move to here, and now here we have a new line command. So we'll move to next line from here to here. Again, now I is equal to 2. Since now again 2 will be printed. Since 2 modulo 2 is equal to 0, so again continuous printed, and then this line is ignored, and this keeps on happening. So this is the use of continue, where we want to ignore the some of the statements in loop. So this is how continue is used. So we have to keep in mind that continue is always used in loops. And secondly, as we use break statements with labels, we can also use continue statements with labels. So I've created a label here and I've written some code. So now you can see that I've started a loop within a loop, and I've given a condition that if this is true, then we'll continue directly to the outer part and this will be ignored. Okay, so when I run this basically I'm printing a table here, multiplication table. So when I is 0, we have first case as j is 0. Since 0 is not greater than 0, first 0 will be printed. Second, we have j equal to 1. Now 1 is greater than 0, so the continue, this line is executed and we directly move to this part. So again, now I is equal to 1, we have j as 0, so this is not true, so we get 1 into 0, that is 0 here. Then in the second case, I is equal to 1, now 1 is not greater than 1, so again this is ignored. This line is executed, so now 1 into 1 is 1. Now again j becomes 2. Since 2 is greater than 1, now we'll execute this line and we'll execute this line. So whenever this continue is executed, the next part of the loop is ignored, as we know that. So now the control will directly transfer from here to again here, and this will be ignored. So you can pause this video and once you can try to understand the program. Now let's move to the third type, that is we have return. So the third type is return, and return is normally used to move across methods. Like for example, I've given you an example here. Suppose I've declared two functions, func1 and func2, and now in func1 I've called func2. So basically we call func1 as calling function because it is calling some other function, and the function which is being called, that is called function. Now here func2 is called function and func1 is calling function. So whenever I use return, it basically transfers the command from the called function to the calling function. So I've written return in func2. So now the command will directly transfer to the func1. Okay, so it is used to transfer control from one method to another. Now I'll give you an example. Now the main thing which is used in return, now whenever a function calls itself, then we call it as a recursive function. So this is very widely used and this is very useful tool. So let's see, suppose you need to find factorial of a number. So there are two methods. One is that you can do it using loops. So let's suppose I'm using loop. So I'll declare factorial as 1, and I'll suppose I want to find a factorial of 5. So I'll start a loop from I equal to 5 and will decrement the value of I in the loop and will multiply. Every time we'll multiply with the number. So like 5, then we'll get 5 into fact is 1, so 5. Now fact becomes 5. In the next loop I becomes 4, so 5 into 4 20, like that will move. Okay, so this is one method. Now second method which we can use is recursive function. So recursion, as I told you, is when a function calls itself. So I have written a recursion function here. This is the function which I have declared. I have named it as factorial, and I have written the condition that if n is equal to 0, then we'll return 1, and if it is not equal to 0, then we will return. So in this, I forgot to tell you that in return we can either just transfer the control, or we can transfer the control with by giving some value as well. So as I told you in the wait. So suppose if I return directly, if I just write return here, the control will transfer to function 1. But if I suppose I write return 5. So what it will do is it will return the control to this program, but along with that it will also return this value. So basically the value of a will become 5 here. Okay, so this is another use of return. So in the recursive function for factorial, I have declared two variables I and fact, and suppose we want to find factorial of 5. So I'll call the function from the main function here, and now it moves to this function. The control is shifted here. Now since it is now right now number is 5, so here n becomes 5, and since this is not equal to 0, this line will get executed. Now return, we have a function, we have the same function, that is we are again calling the function which is this. So basically this function is calling itself again. So now we'll have 5, that is n is 5 right now, into factorial of 5 minus 4, that is 4. So again now the control will transfer from here to this position again. We'll have factorial of, now we have n minus 1, so this will become 4. Now n is equal to 4, again it will execute this statement, and now we'll have 4 into factorial of 3. So again in this way the function is calling itself and recursion is occurring. So finally when I run this, I'll get the value of factorial. So we know that 5 factorial is 120. Again if I give some other number, let's say 4, it is given 24 because 4 factorial is 24. So this was about jump statements. We have learned that there are 3 types of jump statements. The first one is break, second is continue, and the third is return. And it has wide applications and it is strongly used. It is a very powerful tool, and it can be used in various ways. So thank you for watching the video.